My dad, Peter Vigil of Home, New Mexico, was born in the harvest month of October 1954. Growing up, he was fortunate to live in the beautiful Mora Valley and be of the northern New Mexican Hispanic culture. His family, like many in the area, did not have much monetary wealth. Their houses were kept warm and their tables were filled through the working of the land. As he began to raise his own children, he wanted to ensure that they too knew that groceries did not simply come from a grocery store, and that hard work was to be valued. I remember how excited my brother and I were the first time my dad drove up with a pig in the back of a horse trailer and my dad saying, "Mijos, you will raise this pig until October, and then we'll have a matanza," just as my family always did when I was growing up. The first time my siblings and I experienced our family matanza, we followed my dad around like baby chicks, taking directions, asking too many questions, and beaming with excitement. We were impressed with my dad's know-how of this process, but he'd commonly share stories of how his dad used to do these things, which assured us that he gathered this knowledge the same way we were learning it, through the lessons of our dad. He'd say, "When I was a kid, my dad would dig this fire pit by hand. It was a lot of work, but it was just everyday life for him, not like it is now, a special occasion." Through my dad's guidance, my brother learned how to operate the backhoe, which now dug the fire pit that would cook the pig. The fire was built and we'd have to tend to it all day and night. The following morning, we were greeted by the smoky, crisp October air and were quickly put to work. Another fire was built where a large barrel was placed above to boil the water later needed to shave the pig. My brother was tasked with the honor of killing the pig. My dad assured us that this was the way things were supposed to be. Animals were raised and cared for properly, and then they in turn would provide us with the needed food to feed our family. As the only boy, this was a rite of passage for my brother. He too one day would need to show his children how to do this, so it was important that he learned how to do it quickly and as painless as possible. My duty is best described by Fabiola Cabeza de Vaca in her book, The Good Life, New Mexican Food, when she states, "Doña Paula went about making morcilla, pork sausage, from the blood which she had taken as the pig had been stuck. While it was still warm, she had removed the coagulating substance by working the clots with her hands until they were resolved, and now she had the clear blood." I feel the same warmth in my hands as Doña Paula, since my job every matanza was to gather the blood from the pig. My dad would tell me to be quick and watch for the kicking legs as he slit the throat and lifted the head for me to slide the pan under. Once enough blood was gathered and the clots removed, I would quickly hand the pan to my aunt so she could prepare the morcilla. After the pig was washed and gutted, my dad would explain how the hair of the pig was so thick that it needed to be removed by soaking gunny sacks in boiling water and placing them on the pig to open its pores so the thick hair could be more easily scraped off with knives. Our small young arms would tire out quickly, but we were lucky to have many family and community members join in on our tradition who were always willing to lend an extra hand. Once the shaving was finished, the pig was once again hoisted in the air while the sections of meat were removed. Many tables were set outside where others could cut the meat into chicharrones, carnitas, and roasts. The larger sections of the meat that were to be cooked underground were seasoned and wrapped in water-soaked gunny sacks to prevent the meat from drying out and held together by chicken wire. It was then time for the cooking to begin. All the bundled meat and large pans of beans or pozole were taken back to the fire pit and buried for the remainder of the day and night. When feast day would finally arrive, the chicharrones were put to boil in hot grease and gingerly stirred until they were crisp. My mother would be running the kitchen and making homemade tortillas, bolillos, and sopapillas. Finally, the tender cooked meat was pulled from the ground and quickly hauled into the kitchen, where it was unwrapped and prepared to serve. We then gathered around the serving table and said a blessing, thankful for the bountiful food before us. My siblings and I grew up in a time when life was easy. Food could be bought at a store, animals were pets, and a meal could be cooked in a microwave. And my dad has worked his whole life for us to be able to live such an easy life. But he has never wanted us to lose our roots, our culture, or our connection to those who have come before us. And by passing the tradition of the matanza to his children and now his grandchildren, he has done just that.